Hoolies are in the house. I've got Paul and Julie from Harnies Hoolies, and Moki as well.
And Moki.
And Moki too. Go, hi, Moki. And it is so good to have you. I had this brainwave. We were just chatting before we went live. I had this brainwave last night, and I thought, oh, Paul and Julie would be so perfect for today. And I text Julie, said, how about you coming on? And she's like, oh, yes, I'm working from home. I'm good towards the end of next week. And I'm like, what about tomorrow? No, none of this next week's business. Tomorrow.
Well, yeah, so she says tomorrow. Paul, what are you thinking? He is, oh, why not? We've got nothing else to do.
Yeah. Exactly. I knew the dance card wouldn't be full.
Exactly.
So I sort of thought, yeah, we will get together. Hi, guys. Oh, Helene's here. Hi. Don't worry, you're on my hit list next, Helene. So, check your diary for next week. It's here we all are. And we first I thought we'd catch up with who you guys are, because I mean a lot of people know who you are, but many don't. I've got ones that watch from all over. So introduce yourselves, tell us who you are, and some of the wonderful things that you do.
So I guess we're Paul and Julie, obviously, Paul and Julie Monk. We founded Harnies Hoolies Designs, which originally started off as just my knitting patterns. And then from there, I'm like, I was buying a lot of luxury-based yarns from Germany in particular, and I got a little frustrated with the shipping delays and the costs, and I'm like, there's got to be other people in New Zealand that also want these bases and can't readily find them. So let's start dyeing yarn as well.
Yeah.
So we bought a bunch of yarn and we bought some dyes, and we kind of just started throwing dye around and learned it as we go. Really, we didn't know what we were doing. We had no idea. We'd never done anything like it before.
Still don't know what
we still don't know what we're doing.
How many
we kind of just throw dye around and see what sticks, really, you know.
How many years ago was that now?
So the design started about 6 years ago, and then the yarn came a year later. So we've been dyeing for about 5 years.
Yeah, because when we spent 3 days together in Gisborne at the Creative Fibre, and I think that it was all pretty new then, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. That was probably our second really big market. Or we did one in South Auckland. What was that? It was Creative Fibre Festival was our very first market, and we were pooping our pants, to be honest. We had, oh my goodness, it was so overwhelming, and that was a 3-day event as well. So that was a little bit scary. And then I think we did a Wool Fest, and then we did the one in Gisborne when we met you.
Yeah, it was so much fun. So we were we were right next to each other, and Gisborne, of course, is my hometown. So of course you got to meet my mum, and my mum says hello. I told her that I was catching. My mum is quite fond of these guys, especially Paul. Paul's sense of humour appealed to my mother, and that might come out as we carry on here this morning. And we had so much fun, and it was it was actually quite a relaxed show, that one, because it was across 3 days. They'd opened it up to the public, which wasn't a usual thing, but it was loads and loads of fun, and we were able to sort of get to really catch up and get to know each other, which was awesome, and just see some of the really amazing things that were being done. So you've been dyeing now for about 5 years. I think what a lot of people know and love you guys for is your work with silk. You do a lot of work.
A lot of silk yarns, a lot of high percentage silk in other bases, and then a lot of just straight pure 100% silk.
Yeah. And silk is, like, I sent some silk up to Julie. When we had the silks that you guys have all just purchased with the naked silks, and Julie, I sent them up to Julie to actually do some test dyeing for us, just to sort of get a feel for them. And silk is a funny beastie, isn't it? It is quite challenging. You've got to use specific dyes. What are some of the things that you love about silk, and what are some of the things you hate about silk?
Ooh. I dislike soaking it.
Yeah.
It takes a lot to soak. It doesn't absorb and soak in the water the way a merino, for example, does. So we'll typically soak at least overnight, sometimes a little longer, because it just, if you get dry spots, then they're dry, and it's not going to absorb your dye at all. So that can be a real pain, is making sure that you don't overload the buckets and that the water manages to get through. it can also be difficult to know what the final color is going to be like, because as you put the especially with our Silky Mix Silk Face, which is a single spun, as you put the dye on, it sits on the surface and it looks super, super vibrant. But as it soaks in and it gets right into the core of that yarn, it softens out. And then by the time you've washed it and you've dried it, you've got a beautiful mellow color, but it's not necessarily what you saw when you first put the dye in there. You know, it's, you thought you had a beautiful golden yellow and it turns out you've got something that's more honeysuckle, which is pretty. But if it's the first time you've dyed that color and it's not what you expected, then that can be a little challenging. But I love it as well. You know, the colors, silk shines from inside and you get this beautiful glow to every color that you put on it. And it just, it's really such a pretty thing. And I think my absolute favorite thing about working with silk is you can knit with it in summer. You can wear your knits in summer without, you know, all of the sweat and the just wanting to rip it off because you're overheating, especially women of a certain age, you know. We're fine 1 minute, and then we're scorching with the power of the sun for 10 minutes later, right? Yeah. I can still wear silk in summer and not worry about any of that, you know, so that's quite nice.
Yeah. And also too, I discovered as well, like you mentioned your Silky Mix Silk Face, which was the single plied yarn, and it's amazing, single spun yarn, but then when you ply it with silk, you get this optical illusion almost with a shadowing within the ply, which creates another dimension to color as well. Really, it's quite amazing.
Yeah, especially with our camel silk base, because the camel is already sort of it's camel colored, right? It's a caramelly color, and then you've got the silk sort of softens that, and so the camel fiber creates a deep richness to the colorways while the silk makes them pop, so you get this beautiful almost mild effect through the fiber, and it's just really, really stunning.
Yeah, I can see your curtain moving behind you. So there's objects. It's so
One
funny.
of the kittens will be down the back.
I've literally met him sitting. So in case you guys have noticed, I'm in a different location today. I am. I've moved outside, which is very brave of me. I'm out on our deck, and the main road actually run to the port is right behind me here. But because of lockdown, it's exceptionally quiet. So I'm sort of fingers crossing that I can actually be out here and it will give me a change, except it is a little cool. I've got the blankie, I've got the heater on behind me because it was 2 degrees here this morning, and it's probably still single digits at the moment, so it's lovely and peaceful, which is nice. Now, the other thing too is your silk was used in Adira by Libby Johnson Truly Myrtle, and there's going to be a knit along with that that you guys are doing with Outlaw Yarn. That sounds exciting. Tell us a wee bit more about that.
Very exciting. So yeah, Libby designed a beautiful t-shirt pattern called Adira, and I don't have mine with me, but for those of you who don't know, it has a little keyhole that's got quite a high neckline, and then a little keyhole in the chest, little drop shoulder sleeves. Very, very simple, plain knit, which is actually what I'm knitting right now. I'm knitting another one for myself for summer.
And this is the perfect time to do it too. You know, I mean, spring's here. So by the time you get it knocked off the needles, you're ready to wear it for the summer.
Exactly. Yeah. Sense. And this was a case of, you know, I dyed the yarn and then I saw this color. And this is a very, very me color. I love pinks. And this sweet magnolia colorway is pink with a hint of blue, so it's almost bordering into the sort of lilac-y range, but it's still pink. And it just, there was something about it that just sang to me, and I'm like, you know what, I'm making another Adira with that. It just called to me. I had to do it, you know.
Yeah. Really. And it is, and that's just it. It's doing those knits, like sort of getting knitting and preparing sort of up for upcoming seasons. I mean, Ethan, that's where Ethan and Deb are so fantastic, because they're so much better at it than I am. They do great knit alongs and they get really organized and get people motivated. I get as far as my themes every month in the Speak Easy, and then I fall to pieces. But the nice news about I'm going to hold it up in a second. It's covered in animal hair because it's been literally sitting by the side of it. So this, I showed this off yesterday, which is a project I started last lockdown. But see the big fadey bit in the middle?
Yep.
Well, that's where it's been sitting in the basket, and it's been caught by the sun. I know. Look, that's how long it's been there for.
Oh, Maree. Oh, that's funny.
Oh, and you know what? I couldn't give a flying.
No.
Oh dear. But yes, Adira Day, as we're dubbing it.
Yes, Adira Day.
The plan, lockdown allowing, is that Paul and I will fly to Christchurch and hang out at Outlaw headquarters on the 10th of September, Saturday the 10th, I think it is, or the 11th. I don't know which one is the Saturday, whichever is the Saturday there. We're bringing as much silk as you can poke a stick at. We have, I think, 30 colours dyed up right now that we'll be bringing with us in sweater lots, so that people can just pick through it, ask us questions about working with silk, ask us questions about knitting Adira specifically. And then Ethan and Deb will host a knit along from the Outlaw headquarters as well, which will be really nice.
That'll be fun.
Backup plan being, if we can't leave Auckland, then we'll still send the silk down and let Deb and Ethan work their magic on our behalf.
Yeah, and you could probably jump in online anyway. You know, I mean, that's the thing.
We can do a Zoom or something.
Yeah, do a Zoom. It'll all happen. Sorry, I just need to see where I'm at. Right, I know where I'm at now. Oh, that sounds like so much fun. And now I've got a couple of questions. Firstly, they want to know the top you're wearing.
The top is Ember Sweater by, it's a Japanese lady, so I'm going to butcher her name, but let me just quickly look it up. I knew I should have looked it up first. And the yarn, if anybody is wondering, is Maree from Happy Go Knitty. Sweater. So the sweater pattern is on Ravelry, and it's easy to find if you look for Ember. It's by Yuko Shimizu. So Yuko is her first name. So if you find Ember Sweater by Yuko, then you'll know it's hers. She's wearing it in a orange, blue, and cream color in the project photo. So it's easy to spot.
There's some fantastic design coming out from Japanese designers. They've got a really lovely, I mean, I love Midori Hirose and Hiroko Payne. There's some really lovely
and
stuff.
The nice thing about this one too is it's both color work and there's some texture. Like there's a little bit of lace. I'll just put my knitting down. A little bit of lace just through the yoke, just a simple bit. And then you've got three-way color across the bust there. And then it comes down into this beautiful, it's quite cropped, quite oversized. So you can easily make it longer, just, knit this bit and reverse it, maybe make it longer if you don't like crop sweaters, or layer it over something else.
Yeah.
It has both a short sleeve and a long sleeve version. You've probably all seen Helene wearing hers in the beautiful green. She did hers as a long sleeve version, and it's quite lovely as both. I'm going to do another one in really bright colors with a long sleeve.
Like jewel colors, yum. Yeah. It would be amazing. Another question is how many? What sort of meterage do you need for the Adira? Do you know, sort of for?
So for me, for the first one that I knit, I used 2 skeins of the Silky Mix Silk Face, which is 800 meters total. So 400 meters per skein. It is a fingering weight top.
So 3 skeins would probably do me.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say that's the top of that was the final size for the 2 skeins. Basically, it was borderline for 3. Yeah. Some people who did my size broke into their 3rd skein just a wee bit because they used a swatch. I already knew my gauge, so I didn't swatch. Don't tell Libby. But yeah, it's borderline at my size. It's 2/3 depending on how close to gauge you get, I guess. But 2 to 3 skeins is plenty for all of the sizes, I think. Yeah.
That's tons. Oh, that's fantastic. Kathy is fantastic. She's really wonderful. She's dropping in the links to everything that we talk about. She's the self-appointed digital assistant that we have, and she's wonderful. She's so good. She does it for us and for Outlaw, which is great. I really do appreciate it.
Oh, super handy.
It is. It's awesome. One of the other reasons I've got Paul and Julie on, and we were talking about it a bit before we came live, was just around, how we get to coping with this really insane situation. And Julie and I have one thing in common, that you and I both work from home a lot normally anyway. So there's a certain amount of normality that we have with working from home. But then there is this sort of crazy situation. Then Paul, of course, you're always off doing things fantastic. So now that you're at home the entire time, what's it like for you? What do you do to cope other than driving Julie crazy? What do you do to actually cope to get you through the lockdowns?
There's something other than driving Julie crazy?
Yes, there is.
Oh, I should probably look into that.
Oh, so no, just the
Please.
huge there.
Please do.
I play with the cats a lot. They need a lot of attention. And I do a lot of model painting. It's basically what keeps me going right now.
Tabletop wargaming.
Ah.
Warhammer 40k, that kind of thing. A lot of people.
Do you know Kevin Foxall?
No, really.
He does a lot of wargaming paint. I just know he's quite a renowned painter as well. I used to work with him back in the day, a long time ago. Oh, and what about, because I know that because I know you like to cook. You're a really good cook. What have you been cooking in lockdown?
Not much, because we generally HelloFresh, and Julie cooks a lot of that. It's easy, and we don't have to try book a spot at the supermarket to get food.
Because that's tough at the moment.
Because that's really hard.
Yeah.
But I did make a lockdown brownie with what was left in the cupboards.
Ooh, very good.
It was vanilla protein powder with cocoa and chocolate and chili, I believe.
Ooh, very good.
Chili is my absolute favorite combination for his brownies.
No,
we don't make them often because the best brownies are loaded with butter to make them nice and fudgy.
Because you're dairy free, aren't you, from memory?
Yeah. So we avoid it. He does make it occasionally as completely dairy free for me, but it's not quite the same. So this one did have dairy in it. So I can do some dairy, but mostly I'm dairy free. Yeah.
It's and that's the thing, like baking. I think baking was definitely the go-to last time for so many people. I mean, there were the ones that went out and got fit and did incredibly well during lockdown, and then there were the others that put on the lockdown pounds and all came away from doing copious quantities of baking. I mean, I think we were somewhere in the middle last time. This time round, our oldest son, he's in Culinary Institute at his school, so we're doing a lot more cooking with him, which is really nice. Like he helped make some cookies yesterday, and we've got carrot cake on the list, I think, for today or tomorrow. So
yum.
Yeah, so that's something fun to do. But it's about, a lot of it is like everyone copes in different ways. What are some of the things in the chat that you guys cope with that you're doing in terms of dealing with stress? Like I was just saying to Paul and Julie before we came live, is that I had this on Friday. That was my day 3 moment, and I just literally had this overwhelming feeling all day that all I wanted to do was cry, and it was really difficult just to sort of get settled in a rhythm for the day. I felt really sort of ratty. I likened it to day 3 after you've had a baby, and they call it the baby blues. Like all you want to do is cry, and you just feel really just overwhelmed. And that was my feeling on Friday. So yesterday I just knew I needed to center. And for me, sleep's a massive issue because I'm not a naturally good sleeper. And menopause, you're mentioning that ladies have seen those. One of the things they don't tell you about menopause is like the insomnia. I mean, I didn't know menopause insomnia was a thing. Now I have to say, I grabbed these because I thought, wow, these are amazing. So funnily enough, I hadn't been sleeping with the stress coming into August nights, quite normal. So I thought, I'm going to have to deal with this because I am going to not be good. So I went to the pharmacy. It happened to be the day of lockdown, and it was before the announcements. And I got they suggested some of this stuff.
Magnesium. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and my husband had been saying to me too about magnesium as well, and he had some magnesium here, which I tried, just straight magnesium, and it seemed to work. And this one's got also 5-HTP and cherry and a few other passion flower and a few other bits and pieces. Oh, I tell you what, I've been taking these and I've slept like a baby.
Oh, wow.
It's been great, like uninterrupted, which for me is quite unusual. So it's just, so then to wake up yesterday, we did the big 2-hour marathon with the crew from Outlaw. And then yesterday, the big thing I did is I turned the phone off. And then just, I thought, you know what, I'm not even going to, I started watching the briefing and I thought, you know what, this is actually really annoying me. So, and it's just not wanting to make light of the information that was passed out. I just was like, actually, no, I can't do this today. It's like, I'm going to turn that off and I'm going to turn the phone off. and I'm going to sit down and watch exceptionally trashy television. And I even switched out my knitting. So that's when I switched out to this project, because I've been doing the shoji, and this is like, if the shoji is, if the shoji is one thing, these are, this is even more mindless. So it was just so refreshing to be able to just go and just let it all go for a few hours.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I found myself, I think it was the first day of lockdown when it was first announced, we saw the news, we knew it was coming, right? And I knew the words that were going to come out of Jacinda's mouth, and yet the second she said them, I felt my entire body tense up, and I just started tingling, my head started pounding, and I realized that I needed to switch off right then. I needed to turn off the TV, turn off the news, put my phone down, and just do something completely unrelated, or I was going to go off the deep end. And for me, that means a flare up of my fibromyalgia. And I really didn't want that.
No,
Obviously, my life carries on. I work from home, so my day job continues. Our dye studio is in the garage, so that continues. The only real difference is Paul's home. So I needed to keep functioning as a normal human being. I couldn't afford to just have a complete physical and mental breakdown at the time, which is what would happen. So phone down, TV off, news away, didn't read any of it at all for the rest of that day, pretty much. And then, I got a good night's sleep, and the next day I felt myself again. But I think each day that I would see the news and I would see those numbers creeping up, I would feel it happening again, So I've been pretty minimal on the actual reading of social media. I'm posting there's lots of photos of the cats.
There's a lot of here. Shirley's just saying not looking at social media but watching Michael McIntyre. Actually, Shirley, that's a great idea. Yeah, you've just got to unplug, don't you?
Find something that sparks joy. I'm a huge proponent of that. If there's something in your life that you like doing, do it more.
Absolutely.
Even if that means that the dishes sit there for a night, let the damn dishes sit there for a night. It's not going to hurt anybody if they sit there. If you need to just wrap up in the softest, fluffiest bathrobe you've got with your feet up and the telly on, watching Love Island or something, my dirty secret, then do it. You'll feel so much happier and better for it.
Claire and I were talking I think it was the second day that we were in, and we let our little dirty secret cat out of the bag. Both her and I are big audiobook fans, and we both trashy romance. Like we're talking Mills and Boone Harlequin style, super trashful. And a lot of it is because you love, there's certain narrators that you get into and that you really enjoy, and we both happen to like a couple of 2 or 3 of the same narrators, so we end up listening to the same books because we like the narrators. And I mean, they are not, before audiobooks, these are not the books I would normally have read, but it's like it's just like at the moment, like I'd put them down. I've been doing some really serious books recently, like really serious books, and when it happened, I was like, actually, scroll through. Nope, too serious. Oh yeah, definitely too serious. Not going to. That's one I haven't listened to yet in this series, and and go back to some sort of trashy romance. And I tell you what, it was the best tonic. It was great.
Absolutely.
Headphones in, knitting. It was great.
Yeah. Because it really doesn't matter what it is, does it? It doesn't matter what kind of book or movie or TV or, maybe it's just sitting out on the deck and listening to the birds. There's no traffic right now, or very minimal traffic, so we all get to enjoy nature a little bit more. It really doesn't matter what the activity is. If it makes you happy and it makes you feel good, then it's good for you.
Ethan hey Ethan. Ethan has said he's decided the answer is bad action movies. I'm trying to convince the family here to do a 90s movie binge with me. Because there was some kind of, there was, so we did Enemy of the State the other night. Last night, Hugo this is his exact words, Mum, do we have to keep watching this old shit? That's what the 13-year-old said to me.
Classics. They're called classics.
So I know. So anyway, I gave him the remote and I said, right, here are the, he knows all the streaming services. you find something or selection and we'll do it. So anyway, he came up with Taken 2. So it's not, speaking of action movies, so that's what we got last night was Taken 2. So it's like, okay, all right, 90 minutes. I can do 90 minutes of Liam Neeson. It's not a hard shot. I can do that. It's easy. So yeah, Helen's doing the Vampire Knitting Club book series on Audible. Oh, I have to check that one out. Yeah, you've just, and I think the neat thing, well, one of the things I guess about the stridentness of a level 4 lockdown, which the libertarian freedom half of my brain has a real issue with, which I have to actually pack up and put into another room.
Yep.
Because you can't. There's no point getting stressed out about stuff that you just simply can't control.
Yeah.
And it's about unpacking that and letting that go. And I think that's what I was struggling with on that day 3. Like I just hadn't been able to let that go. I was carrying a lot of anger and grief and frustration and
focused on the what you can't do rather than the what you
can. And to let that go has been really nice and actually work on the things that I can control, like my environment here in the house and how we are for the kids. And see, like Hugo, he's like 13. He's popped his head in here a few times when we've done the diaries. And he is an incredibly sociable, affable, outgoing young man. And he is finding these lockdowns incredibly stressful. I've actually had to, and all his learning and everything is online. So I can't do he's of an age where I can't do the whole screen sort of management thing with him because he's, he is actually of an age. Delene's calling it chuck it in the fuck it bucket. I like that, Denise. Chuck it in the fuck it bucket. I think we need a t-shirt with that on it. Chuck it in the fuck it bucket or a cup. I like that. And he, and he is struggling. And it was a point that I made, like when the lockdowns and stuff started, I was stunned at his reaction. Like he was quite a mess. Like it took me a wee while to sort of calm him back down. I didn't realize how deeply it had impacted him. His older brother, delighted. I mean, all he was seeing was a free pass to video game with all his mates for hours on end and not have to go to school. So he was all over it. But Hugo was a real wreck. And having to sort of help counsel him in a way, counsels yourself. So I thought that was a really nice thing to do for him. And it was really cool. I know. So I also know that you're a huge proponent of yoga and you have done a lot of yoga now. How do you find that helps? I know you and Helene do a lot of yoga together. So talk me through the yoga journey and how you've actually found that helps both you physically and mentally, and especially in times like this. How does that work?
So yoga kind of happened by accident, to be honest. Helene and I were talking and she was telling me that she was planning on going to a yoga retreat in Bali. And I'm like, wow, that sounds really cool. Like, I mean, so far outside of my comfort zone, traveling internationally, which I don't really enjoy traveling a whole lot. So that was scary. And yoga, which I had never done in my life. But I'm like, you know what? Would you mind if I came along with you? I kind of just invited myself. And so we were all booked in and scheduled to go to that. And I decided that I should probably learn a little bit of yoga before I go so I didn't look like a complete and utter twat. But my sister-in-law was teaching a yoga class at the time, so Paul's sister. And so the two of us tagged along to that because Paul had actually said a few times that he'd quite like to do it as a way of releasing tension after his drive home from work and stuff, because that's a big stress factor for you, isn't it? So we both popped along to Ruth's yoga classes, and oh my God, it was hard, yo. Like it was, getting up off the floor and then back down onto the floor and getting back up was almost impossible, to the point where I would miss minutes worth of moves just getting back up off the floor by the end of it because I was so tired and so sore and so weak. But it only took a month maybe before I could keep up with the class. I wasn't great, but I was keeping up with the class, and my balance was terrible. You take my foot off the floor and I would almost fall over. So doing certain moves was almost impossible, but the longer I did it, the stronger I got, the happier I got. And I found it was such a mental boost too, You know, my day job at the time was really incredibly stressful. And there was one yoga class where I popped myself up the back, where I'm normally right up front so I can see what to do. I popped myself up the back and I pretty much cried for the entire class. You know, there were tears all over my yoga mat. There was snot flowing everywhere. And by the end of it, all of that frustration and all of that fear and anger and everything was gone, and I felt better again, you know. And I think that for me was a breakthrough moment where I realized not just the physical benefits of yoga for me, but the mental benefits as well. Just how healing it was becoming for me. And so COVID hit and we didn't get to go to Bali. But we did go to Wanaka, Helene and I. We both went to Wanaka, and that also was a huge emotional situation, I would call it, you know, just being around a whole, you know, there were 14 of us, I think, you know, 13 girls and one lovely gentleman who we made an honorary woman amongst us, all doing yoga, and we're all there for different reasons. Everybody had something emotional that they were dealing with pretty much. And we just talked and we did yoga and we went for walks and enjoyed nature. And it was amazing, you know. And I talked so much about it when we got home that this year, again, COVID allowing, Helene and I are going again, but so is a colleague and friend of mine, and Paul's sister is joining us as well. So sharing the love amongst friends and family and taking them along, and it'll just be this amazing shared experience. And, you know, yoga doesn't have to be strenuous. You know, you could do some nice yoga nidra or yin yoga, which is just really slow and relaxing. It's just stretching, you know, it's stretching in different poses and just moving your body and then holding it for a little while. Breathing. I learned to breathe at the yoga retreat. And that sounds silly, right?
No, not at all.
Every day. We don't live if we don't breathe. But it was learning to take a proper deep breath, actually fill your lungs
from your diaphragm.
Yeah. And then release it really slowly, like over a minute almost, you know, and you would be surprised how much that changes your mood and how your body feels. So now anytime I feel stress or if I feel pain, I do breath work, just really big, deep breaths in, and then you hold them and then you just release them really slowly, you know. And honestly, that got me through the pain of a 9-hour tattoo.
Yeah,
it got pretty intense up around the shoulder bone. Anywhere near a bone really hurts. And by the end of 9 hours, your adrenaline is gone. You know, you have no more tolerance for the pain. You've got to do something. And so I stared at a light switch and I just breathed and I fell asleep. And they laughed at me, you know, like, how can you sleep through a tattoo? But that was how much the deep breathing and the focus really helped.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that, I mean, I see with yoga is that there is practically zero barrier to entry with it. You know, you could pull up a video on YouTube, or
you can do it anywhere from anywhere.
It doesn't cost, you know, it's just, and I think breathing, you're so right with the breathing, you know, that old, how many times have your parents said to you, just calm down and take a deep breath?
Yeah, exactly. It works.
It works. There's a reason it works. And it is having those moments just to breathe. Like here, where I got an e-bike for my birthday. And I hadn't been on a bicycle for nigh on 20 years. So but I tried it out with Phil. It was the Christmas present to himself. And anyway, it didn't arrive until close to my birthday. And I tried it out when we were away for a couple of school holidays ago, and we were away in Taupo, and I tried his bike out, but then I also just used a push bike, like a cruiser bike that they had at the place we were staying, and thought, I can see why so many people are getting out and about on bikes, especially with the cycleways, especially here in Hawke's Bay, which is very flat, and we've got loads of paths.
Beautiful paths.
Beautiful paths. So that's what we've been doing. And so like this afternoon that's one of the things that we'll do this afternoon is we'll take I said to Phil, I don't like too many people traffic around because I have had a few falls, I have to say. And I broke my ass there for a bit. And when I say broke, and I'm talking, someone stopped suddenly in front of me, wheel over the top of the handlebars I went.
Oh.
Yeah, I did this because I thought, the last thing I thought was like, I can't break my hands.
Don't break your wrist.
Don't break my arms. Don't break my arms. So I did this, and then I thought, oh, well, I'll turn to my body because I thought, well, if I'm going to fall on anything, let's fall on the biggest, softest part of me. So I twisted myself, so I fell on my ass, but then I broke my ass. So it was after about a month of hobbling around, and Claire's looking at me going, and every time I got up off the chair, I'm like an old woman. I'm like, oh, broken ass. I finally had to go to physio, and I'm at physio, and she said, you will be surprised how many people now coming in of over sort of 45, 50 who are struggling or having falls because we don't have the balance like we used to. I'm getting it back now. It's like yoga, like you said, you'd stand up on one foot and you'd fall over. The bike's the same. These are skills that have been long since dormant. You know? So, and I mean, I thought the biggest thing I'd have to get over was looking like a noob in a cycle helmet. Yeah, no, that's the least of my worries.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I've been thinking about buying bikes. We've been talking about it for a little while. I keep thinking, but like you, I haven't ridden a push bike since I was a teenager, you know, and like early teenage years. And I was never particularly good at it. You know, as a kid, there was this huge pair of hills by my house and we lived right at the top of it. So going down the street was amazing. You flew down that hill and you flew up the next one and straight down the second one, except there was a curve at the bottom of that second one. And I knocked out one of the people's letterboxes. I just rode straight into it. And I don't think I ever fully recovered from that, to be honest, just the embarrassing nature, let alone, you know, the wounds and stuff. And that's every time I think about getting on a bike now, I'm like, I'm so going to run into somebody's letterbox. I'm going to forget how to turn the handlebars again and how like just to turn a corner. Yeah. And boom, there I go. But much like I felt like I would make a fool out of myself at yoga, I don't care anymore. You know, I'm 45. I don't care what people think of me. I don't care what people on the street especially think about what I'm, when I'm out for a walk or something. I don't care what they think. I'm just going to do it. You know, I think we'll just buy bikes and we'll get out there and have a little ride.
Sure.
I
haven't ridden a bike since the dockyard. And that was like a 1940s open all hours with a big basket on the front type thing. Because you used to have to put all your tools in it. And that was it. Get out to the ships. That's what we rode.
Oh, stop it. Stop it.
Can you imagine the pair of us out there?
I know.
Wobbling everywhere.
But you know what the thing that I love, though, is that you go out and I go out and you're not the only one. This is the thing. I've come across so many other women just like me. And I had a girlfriend and I was telling her about it. She went, she said, right, you and I have to have a wine. I've got to tell you what I did on my e-bike. She said, and she was like, she said, took out the letterbox, took it out, go. I was like, that's just it. You just have to, I think, throw caution to the wind and just be brave.
Yeah, just do the thing. Exactly. Yeah. Be brave. Don't care what other people think. Go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's what we've been doing. So sort of like, and obviously dog walks for us are a big deal as well. So we do a lot of dog walking. Yeah, every day we take the boys for a trot around the block, and they you know, especially during lockdown, they go. We call it checking the wee mail. So that's what we go to do with them, and it's nice. You've just got to find that little thing that gives you that moment's.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't matter what it is. A walk, a bike, some yoga, some tai chi, a cup of tea on the deck with the wind blowing through your hair or something, whatever it is. And we do it.
And it's like, I know that like here with the family, I mean, I got some fantastic advice years ago. So as many people know, I've got the two boys, and one of my boys, he has had he's not neuronormal. So we had loads of challenges with him when he was younger. He's fabulous now, but it was a long road to get there. And I will never forget I've had what I call slippery cheese moments off and on since my teens. So when you have been somebody that comes in and has had to sort of manage depression for a really long time, you get quite good at it, but every now and then it sneaks up on you. And
it does.
And it does. And this particular time was when I had a lot going on with the businesses and him and stuff. And I remember going and we had an appointment with his neuropediatrician. And I literally, you know, that moment, like you said, on the yoga mat, you sat down, and then all of a sudden, it just all excarnated out into this blubbery sort of mess.
Yep.
And you don't realize that it's like, oh, I've been carrying this around for so long. Yeah. And I think what I'm trying to say is that sometimes it actually, I don't rankle at it, but this whole continual media message of you've got to do it for someone else. I do this for somebody else. I'm doing this for this other person. I'm doing this for these person. I'm doing this for that. Actually, you need to fucking look after yourself. And you've got to get yourself right first. And when you've got yourself right and centered, then you can actually look at the people around you. And it's like ripples on a pond, I think. And you get yourself sorted first, and then you do your family ripples, and then all those wider people out there. And I think that's really important, because
you can't be your best self for somebody else until you take care of you.
And I see so many people just doing, like, who are really caring, wonderful people who are sort of so brainwashed that they have to be doing all of these things for the other people. And it's like, actually, what are you doing for you, though? You need to be doing something for you. Because that's what's going to help get you through everything. And I think that was one of the things with depression that I learned, is I was running around doing everything for everyone else, and I was letting the one thing get away on me.
Yeah, you need to feel the feels, right?
You do.
Everybody has emotions, and we're taught to hide them. Don't let somebody else know that you're feeling sad. Smile. It's okay. Sometimes it's actually not fucking okay, you know? It's just not, and it's okay to not feel okay. You've got to feel those things. You've got to let them happen. And if that means having a pity party for 48 hours, then have the damn pity party.
Yep.
You know,
definitely.
You'll feel better for it, because if you keep swallowing all of that and you keep hiding it inside and smiling for the world, even though you don't want to smile, then oh, hello, Rebel. Look at her.
She's like, do I have to? You're going to smile for everybody?
Oh, I know. What about you, Moki? Can you say hi?
Look, there's Moki. Now she's just seen a bird.
Oh, she's a stunner. Look at her.
Yeah, well, you do. You're right. You do. Sorry, got distracted.
But so if
talk about serious stuff, cats.
Oh, easily distracted. Yeah. But so what I was trying to say is that, you know, if you don't let yourself feel them, then they will come out in an adverse way, and that could be illness. It could be a complete breakdown in the middle of yoga, you know, snotting and blubbering all over your yoga mat. It could be an absolute mental breakdown.
Yeah.
You know, it's the extreme, right? You've got to let these things out as they happen. Otherwise, you will put yourself in a bad place. And that could be physical or mental, but it will happen eventually. Yeah.
And, you know, and I think it goes back around to what we were saying before. It is actually okay to turn the phone off. It is okay not to watch the briefings. It is okay. I actually, the one thing that's made me most angry so far with this lockdown, it seems the strangest thing in the world, but I actually got really quite peeved about it the other night, is I usually, when it comes to news and stuff, I usually watch 3. But last night, I'm quite partial to a quiz show. I do like me a bit of a quiz show. Mm-hmm. And I saw the Chase was on. I thought, I haven't watched that for ages. So I put the Chase on. I'm sitting there enjoying the quiz show and all the rest of it. And then, of course, the Chase moves into the news. And yes, for some people, I was actually watching TV in real time. I know, novel concept these days. So it's sitting there, news comes on, and it, you know, One News, and I haven't watched One News, and I can't tell you how long, a really long time. And it came on, and they had the imagery for the Delta outbreak, and up came the imagery and everything that they had with it. And it was literally like the way that they were forward facing it and presenting it in terms of the logo that they'd created, the imagery, everything that they'd framed it was literally like your worst post-apocalyptic horror. That's how it was being framed. And I'm thinking, excuse my language, how fucking irresponsible is that? You know,
I agree.
Anybody watching that is it is really terrifying. And it's like, why would you be doing that and creating such imagery that is so to put people into such a heightened state of fear when it's like we're not stupid.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so
Agreed.
why are you reinforcing this fear message? And I like, let's put it this way. I am feeling a letter to the ASA coming on. I was that upset about it. I was just like, wow. No, your job here isn't to incite fear into the population. Your
Just
job
to
here
inform.
is to actually impart facts
Yep.
to people so then we know what's going on. You don't need to make us feel more fearful than what we already are.
No, especially not when we're all locked in our homes, right? When we can't go out and be with our friends and family, especially people who are on their own and just cannot be with somebody else to just have a nice chat or a cuddle or something. You know,
I know. I saw that and I thought, oh right, okay, well that's going off.
Yeah,
You know, I thought, well, I'm not going to put myself through that, or even the kids. The kids were in the room. I thought, gosh, no wonder. You know, my 13-year-old's anxious enough already. That would make him even more anxious.
Yeah, and it's okay to just turn it off.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
If it's causing you stress, then screw it, throw it away.
Totally.
It's not worth it.
So that's what we're doing, and that's where knitting, I think, is again just swinging it all back round full circle. That's why I think knitting has been, and all the crafts are just so wonderful because they do give you that mindfulness, and they allow us to sit and take a moment away from whatever it is that we're doing, whether it be the situation currently or our everyday lives.
Just focus on each stitch.
Yeah, absolutely.
One stitch after another, or wind a ball of yarn by hand, or pick up a project that was in the naughty corner and have a go.
Be Paul the other Friday morning. I saw him twisting up skeins.
Some little mini skeins.
Little skeins going from there, Paul. I made you go and get them because I want you to talk about them because they're really beautiful.
Yeah, I'm going to shut up for a while. You can talk about those.
Oh, can I?
Yeah.
Julie made me make these. Well, actually, she made them, but
Well, I tried.
You're very good at twisting them, though, Paul.
I got better. My first few were abysmal. But what we have, other way, why is it back to front? It's, what are they, 3 grams?
They are 3 grams, 25 meters.
25 meters, embroidery skeins.
So excited.
So can you actually use them like a lace weight to knit with as well, Julie? Or they are?
Yeah, it is a lace weight yarn. So you could use them as for little stripes in a project, one skein per stripe perhaps. Somebody mentioned visible mending, that they're great for that. Right? Yes. That was my reaction. I'm like, oh, hang on.
Shawls for cats.
Shawls for cats. a little scarf or a little hat for Moki. And embroidering your knitting, if you've got a sweater that's just plain stockinette, embroider it or duplicate stitch over it with these to add some little pops of color or some interest. So what's the fiber of this one?
This one is silk, funnily enough, as it's us, and Blueface Leicester.
Oh, but so you can see the shine because Blueface Leicester as a wool is already shiny. That with the silk, I mean, look at it.
Yeah,
it almost looks metallic.
We do have, hold that one up again. So give me. We also have a pure silk one, which is this one here. So we've only dyed a few of those ones, so they'll be coming a little bit later. But the BFL will be released today. It'll be online this afternoon.
Fantastic.
We have 21 colors, I think, to start with, and we'll do some one-of-a-kind variegateds just to complement them.
We have a shoebox full.
Wow.
Because it's so little. It's so cute.
No, but because I know that Deb and Ethan were playing around with some tapestry and stitch work, and you can get, that's the beautiful thing about tapestry and stitch work now, is that you can get really fun
colors, fun fibers, exactly.
Fun words. I think there we go. Delene, your chuck it in the fuck it bucket could be on. I think with a little bucket and you just.
Yeah, I want to make one that says fuck fibro, because honestly,
exactly.
Throw it in the fuck it bucket. I really don't want to know about it some days.
Yeah.
But that's our current I know, that brings me joy. I look at that shoebox full of tiny little skeins and they're so cute. And they're so pretty. There's so many colors.
But even things like Adira, like you could put in you can do things with trims, or I think Libby had that other pattern, is it Maiden? That's got like the little contrast pocket, or Rebel with the little contrast pocket. You can just add like this little pop of whimsy or color or something.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. And because it's stranded, so there's two pliers, all nicely twisted, so you can pull them apart. So you've got an extra fine strand for, you can. It's almost like a fade in your weave, so you can double it for really thick, bold lines, and then work with it single, and then split it so you're working with half a strand, and you get something extra fine. You can do so much with these. I'm really, really excited, and honestly, I learned to embroider as a wee little girl. My grandmother, both my grandmothers and my mother were huge into embroidery, all sorts, tapestry, cross stitch, candle working, shadow work, black work, all of it. They did everything, and I loved it. And I did a lot of embroidery right through from a little girl into my early 20s. I think the last thing I probably did was not long after I moved to New Zealand, so about 2002, 2003. So I haven't embroidered since like 2002.
Yeah.
But I saw these and I'm like, I have to have them, and I'm going to do something. I don't remember how, but I've got some scrap linen in my fabric stash, and I'm going to pull it out and I'm going to do something.
Yeah, that's just it. You just make it happen. So if anyone wants to find you, where do they find Harnies Hoolies? Where do they find
it?
It
is honeyhooliesdesigns.com.
There we go, honeyhooliesdesigns.com. And these will be up later today.
Later today. I've got to go and photograph them after this and put them all, name them all, because these colours don't have names yet. So got to do all of those fun things and get them online, and then they'll be available. And
make sure you follow Paul and Julie on Instagram and on Facebook as well. You will find them there. Julie is wonderful.
Honey Hoolies designs everywhere.
Yeah, and she posts up stuff, like she posts up her work, what she's dying on, and also the cats.
Lots of random stuff.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm one of those people. I said the other day, give me a cat video, and I'm there.
Yeah. Absolutely. They bring joy.
They do bring joy. So thank you, Kathy. Kathy's just going to pop that into the chat for us as well. So thank you very much for that. It has been my absolute pleasure. Just remember, like, if there's anything that I've gone and touched on that actually sort of brings some stuff up for people, don't be afraid to actually call out for help. I know there's Healthline. There are a number of services that you can call. When it comes to stuff like this, I did buy this from the pharmacy. So do make sure that if you want to try anything like this, that you get professional advice from your pharmacist before you go diving in and trying it, in case there are adverse reactions with other medications you may be taking. There you go. That's the responsible medical wife part of me now. Got that all out of the way. I will be back again tomorrow. Fingers crossed I'll have Libby here tomorrow, actually. So it'll be good to catch up with her. And watch out, there's a few of you in there. I'm working my way through the Knit August Nights people, and anyone else that I can track down that wants to come and talk to me or be with me for a while. So Paul, Julie, thank you so much.
Thank you, Maree.
Thank you.
Thank you, Moki. And everybody, we will be back same back time, same back channel tomorrow here with the Quarantine Diaries. Have a great rest of your Sunday. Bye.
Bye, guys.